Hi, I'm Turgle, and I'm here to rank Final Fantasy XIV dungeons based on how they probably smell. Sastasha. An aquatic-themed dungeon, Sastasha is sure to have its fair share of smells. A decent, stinky companion to Sastasha would be a movie like The Goonies, and while Sastasha's smells are hard to pinpoint, The Goonies are not. You take one look at those musty-ass, waterlogged sets, and you know that this dungeon doesn't smell great. C tier. The Tamtara Deepcroft. Home to a dark, evil cult, the Deepcroft is made up of your average ruins. It's dusty but well ventilated. I'm sure it's full of incense. This candlelit hole would receive an A tier, that is, if the final boss that the cult was summoning didn't look like this. Copperbell Mines. Clearing out these mines is a fragrant endeavor, as the constant use of fire sands leaves the whole place smelling like smoke and gunpowder. D tier. Halatali. So the in-game description for Halatali says this. A series of training pits, animal pens, and holding cells were built. After the location was abandoned, those remaining in pens were left for dead. So you've got an abandoned coliseum, infamously the sweatiest place in ancient societies, filled with rotting animal carcasses. F tier. This place stinks. Totorock. So the Thousand Spires of Totorock is like a prison built in a natural cave system, and the in-game description says it held Gridania's foulest criminals, from arsons to poachers. And because arson and poaching aren't really that bad of crimes, I'm gonna have to assume that the foul there is referring to how stinky they are. So yeah, home to Gridania's stinkiest criminals. This place smells hella bad. F tier. Halke Manor. So Halke Manor tells the story of an eccentric, beauty-obsessed baron selling her soul to demons, which caused the manor to be haunted. Besides the whole owner participating in occult blood rituals to maintain her beauty, this place looks like it smells pretty good. But upon arrival, the Hero of Light has to fight enemies called carpet stains, which are surely just the demon embodiment of the place's dirt and stink. So after the Hero of Light cleans up, this place would be S tier. But before we get there, it'll just be A tier. Brayflox's Longstop. Whether or not this place is a wetland or a rainforest really matters here. It's almost like too dry to be a wetland, but too wet to be just rainforest. The creatures that inhabit this place, mostly the amphibian-looking ones, look pretty stinky though. So even if the forest is fresh, its inhabitants are not, making this an even B tier. The Sunken Temple of Karn. Despite being called the Sunken Temple, this place is pretty much just your standard Indiana Jones Aztec ruins. Being untouched for many years, it hasn't really accumulated any prominent smells. The final boss appears just to be made from stone, so yeah, this place just kind of smells like fresh air, I guess. And yeah, I don't think Territor smells that bad. S tier for just kind of smelling like nothing. Cutter's Cry. The locale of Cutter's Cry doesn't really give any signs for any strong smells. That being said, it's home to some hella stinky inhabitants. Imagine like a beetle or spider scaled up to the size of a person. Okay, now imagine how bad that creature would smell. That's pretty much all you're fighting for the whole dungeon. The final boss is a giant worm. Worms are notorious for eating dirt and then shitting out more dirt. C tier. Stone Vigil. The cool air flowing through the castle of Stone Vigil is a welcome change from the many musty caves and underground ruins these dungeons have brought us to so far. But here's where we hit a controversial roadblock. Are you ready? I think dragons are probably kind of stinky, and no one wants to admit that. How often do you think they wash under their scales? You think they lick themselves like cats? Or are they dragons, and they don't shower, or bathe, or use deodorant because they're dragons, and they do whatever the hell they want? You fight multiple dragons and dragon-like beings in Stone Vigil, it's kind of the whole point of the dungeon, so an otherwise fresh dungeon with a cool breeze running through it is brought to just a B tier by its smelly inhabitants. Dezimel Darkhold. Alright, hear me out. I think that the Void Scent probably smell like something that no human in our world has ever experienced smelling. They surely just smell like void, right? Which either smells like nothing at all, or it smells like something that's totally indescribable. Or void scent could smell like cake, or like dog shit, or like a week-old opened can of beans. Anyways, the Darkhold is full of void scent, which surely define its odor, and that's why it's going in a new tier, void, which is meant to represent whatever void smells like. If anyone knows what the void smells like or has smelled the void themselves, get in contact with me. I have a business opportunity for you. Arum Vale. I mean, fucking look at it. I don't even want to imagine for a second what Arum Vale smells like. I probably never smelled anything in my life that smells as bad as Arum Vale. F tier. If it could lose any more points for the fucking fart geysers, it would. Castrum. Another controversial take, but I personally believe that the Imperial footholds like Castrum and Praetorium probably smell like Apple stores. They're clean, they're sleek, they're out in the open. These places smell alright. But in Castrum, you end up destroying these pipe things. I have literally never paid enough attention to the cutscenes to know what they are or why we destroy them, but I know that whatever odors they were transporting are now out in the open. And while I don't know what's in the pipes, I know that they were being transported securely in big metal pipes for a reason. Probably because they stink. B tier. Praetorium. Just like I said, this place is an Imperial foothold, and as a result, probably smells pretty good. I'm sure they've got janitors working around the clock. Once it totally explodes, though, it's pretty much just a pile of fresh rubble. Smoke from the fires, oil from the robots. Post-Warrior of Light's Praetorium smells bad. But the mysterious shield gas from Castrum is missing, and we judged Hawkeye Manor based on how it smelled before we got there, so this one gets an A tier. Wanderer's Palace. Alright, look at this guy. Seriously, look at this guy. This guy's named the Tonberry King, and he is fresh as fuck. He's almost certainly one of the drippiest characters in Final Fantasy XIV. He's got more style than your yee-ass $40 Mog Station cat girl. He's so fresh that he freshens up the rest of this derelict castle and skyrockets this place into S tier. Amdapor Keep. This is actually where they filmed the Nickelodeon game show Hole in the Wall. Most TV show sets smell relatively fresh, but Nickelodeon sets smell like slime and sweaty children. B tier. Pharos Sirius. So you literally travel through the sewers to get into the castle for this one. This would receive an instant F tier for the poop water you're in, but let me just give some nuance here. Alright, after you kill Moltres and Articuno, this is the chick that you go up against at the top of the tower. Now don't get me wrong, I am down horrible, so I recognize my inherent bias, but that being said, I can't imagine this girl smells anything but really good. Plus, sirens can't even do their job of luring in horny MFers like me if they smell really bad, so awful, stinky start to the dungeon, but really good smelling final boss evens this one out and puts it in B tier. The Lost City of Amdapor. One of the bosses of this dungeon is a Gubu who is described as, and I quote, decaying. This entire place is just one big fungal infection. I'd rather be here than in Arum Vale, but it's a close call. F tier for sure. Hullbreaker Isle. I don't know, it's got another giant worm, which is bad for the smell, and it's also got the Kraken as a final boss. If you ever thought, like, man, this fish smells bad, imagine that smell, but then multiply it by 10, because it's huge and it eats people. The terrain is relatively inoffensive, but its residents bring this dungeon down to a D tier. Snowcloak. You've got another cold place, which means the air is going to be relatively fresh here, which is good. Unfortunately, it's populated by the surely damp Snowcloak variety of Gubus. Gubus stink. Also, it has a Yeti, which I personally believe would smell pretty bad. C tier. Keeper of the Lake. This one's interesting because it's a shipwreck, which would smell bad, but it's inhabited by Imperial forces, which we've established are one of the least offensive enemies when it comes to odor. However, the final boss is the biggest dragon we've seen yet, coupled with 2 reanimated dragon corpses. I hate to say it, but Midsommar probably smells really bad, and we're stuck with him for all of Heaven's War. Hope the Warrior of Light brought nose plugs. D tier. And that's all the dungeons from A Realm Reborn. Of course, we haven't touched any of the trials from ARR, so if you'd like to see me lament about how Shiva probably smells, check out that video. It should come out soon. I've been Turgle, and this is why it's a terrible idea to imagine what fantasy settings would smell like.